What's going on YouTube? Welcome to my channel Money Moves with Kay. I am Kay, and today we're going to talk about 5 hidden signs that an owner doesn't want their property anymore. So like you, I often wonder when I drive for dollars and I find properties, like, why doesn't this owner want the property? But there are key things that I look for when I'm looking at these properties to see and to tell me that they need help, right? Because as a real estate investor, you're trying to find people that need your help, okay? And sometimes it's past the time of helping them. Sometimes the property's in foreclosure, but this is a good list to show you, hey, that this property is vacant and that the property owner is begging you, kind of like, come on, help me out. All right, so let's get into it. So the first sign that I look for, and by the way, make sure you stay towards the end of the video because I typically give my best tips toward the end of the video, because if you're spending time with me, I want to provide you with some really, really good information. And I typically place that all throughout my videos, but at the end, that's where the real nuggets are. So the first thing I wanted to talk about is a utility lock, or in this case, like a meter lock, right? So as you can see in this picture, you see like a little lock here. Now, I would advise you not to actually go outside of any premises because that technically is trespassing. I would advise you, if you can, look street view, right? So from the street view, if you see the meter, you see a lock on the meter, that is telling you something. That's a sign. That's a sign for me that the house might be going into foreclosure or already there, because they're trying to prevent, they meaning the bank or lending institution, is trying to prevent the owner of the property from using the utilities at their premises. So keep in mind, if you see a utility lock, that's a good sign or indicator that the property owner needs help at some point. Now, this next tip is not necessarily mind-blowing tip, but I do want you to pay attention to this. So I started my career in wholesaling. If you know my story, you know I wholesale virtually from Germany. My husband was retired military. He's retired military now, but he served 20 years in the military. And we were stationed in Germany. So started virtually wholesaling. And I had a bird dog, a person that drives for dollars for me, in the area that I was interested in, look at homes. And this is one of the things I told her to look for. And when I got back to the States, this is what I continue to this day to look for. I look for unsecured doors or windows. And this is a picture of a property that I passed. I took a picture. I was not able to get this property under contract. I think somebody beat me to it. However, I do want to highlight a couple things with this picture. I want to highlight this. So there are many access points to a home. So if you ever see a home that has, if you look at this picture, you see that there is a mattress. It looks like a mattress in the window. A mattress in the window literally seems like it's trying to protect the window. The window has been broken, right? So that's one access point that's unsecured. Another, I know you can't see it from the video or this picture actually, but this door is cracked open as well. So easy entrance and exit of the property, that's a no good situation for a homeowner. It lets me know that the homeowner may not even be here, that the homeowner doesn't care anymore, because they would try to fix up some of these access points into the home, okay? The third entry point was this garage, where the garage looks broken, right? So it's easy to get in the property at some point. These are 3 access points, all in the front, unfortunately. But I wanted to mention this because if you ever see this while you're driving for dollars, and you can do this virtually too, but if you ever see this driving for dollars, this is a good indicator that the property owner is like, their hands are tied and they're over dealing with this property, because more than likely they're absentee owners and they don't even know what's going on with the property, okay? And they were just probably more than likely ready to get rid of it. That's just a good indicator for me to reach out to the homeowner, which I've done prior videos on how to reach out to the homeowner. So make sure you check that out, all right? All right, so the third thing I want to discuss is squatters, right? So squatters are folks who enter the home and they actually are occupying the home. So going back to number 2, unsecured building, home in this case, you're bound to at least have animals in the home. They get in easily. That's problematic as well. But also squatters. When I wholesale real estate, I've had numerous dealings with squatters, and squatters are people who are occupying the home illegally. And believe it or not, squatters have squatter rights. So you need to identify the squatter rights in your state, or the state that you're trying to do real estate investing in, because that could be problematic, because there's a whole procedure that you must go through in certain states in order to evict a squatter, right? It's like a real eviction. And it just depends on the state, city, county that you're in. But squatters are a telltale sign for me. And I'm going to get into a second how I know a squatter is occupying the property. A squatter is a telltale sign to me that the homeowner is nowhere to be found. And if they are anywhere to be found, they don't know what to do. They don't know how to proceed from here. So that is a sign for me to scoop in and try to help, okay? And one of the ways I know that it could be occupied by a squatter is simply unsecured doors, as I mentioned earlier. And also, there's one instance where I saw a squatter they were occupying a home. They actually paid for the trash to be picked up at the property, and they were living in it. Like, they live in the property. So that's a sign also that a squatter might be occupying a home. You may see some folks come out looking very suspicious, or whatever the case may be. And most times the neighbors, like I mentioned in my last video, the neighbors knows what is going on. So talking to them is a good way to try to identify that as well. All right. The next thing I wanted to talk about was liens. So mechanic liens, tax liens, utility liens, etc. So if you know anything about this channel, you know that I love looking at tax delinquent lists and trying to identify those folks who have a little bit of equity in their property or have a good opportunity for me to purchase at a very low price. So this is just one county that I've seen before, and I'm just kind of briefly go through this list. This is a tax delinquent list, and the only reason why I'm going that fast is I don't want you to necessarily see any of the folks' names or whatever. However, tax liens or tax delinquent properties are a great way to enter the real estate market and try to find a really good deal. And it's also a sign that the owner is having difficulty paying their taxes. And it's also a good sign that the property potentially could be paid off, so free and clear. Not all the time, but sometimes the property could actually be free and clear, which would mean that it doesn't have a mortgage, okay? So that is a good, and land is on these lists as well. So keep that in mind when you're trying to identify some signs that a homeowner is just ready to get rid of a property and they really don't want it anymore. And most of this list doesn't necessarily mean they don't want it. A lot of times they just can't afford it. And that goes back to you as a real estate investor solving or help solve a problem. Okay. So keep that in mind as you are reaching out to these folks as well. And the last thing I wanted to discuss is something called lis pendens. So lis pendens basically means, and it's a Latin phrase that means a suit pending, right? So it's a lawsuit. It's a suit pending against a person or business and their property. So these particular court filings are found at the county clerk, and it's public knowledge, right? It's a suit pending that is public to the general public, to let them know that there's something going on with this property, okay, with regards to real estate. And more than likely, there's a mortgage default in the situation. So this is kind of like that beginning phase, I should say, of a property going through a foreclosure process. So if you're able to reach out to this owner and get in contact with him prior to that even happening, that is a good way to try to pick up some properties at a fairly good deal. There's a lot of pros and cons to this, right? There's pros and cons to everything on this list, but keep that in mind. If you're able to find the lis pendens in your county, go to the county clerk. That is a good way to find these properties and just see a full list of who has suits pending against them. All right. That's it for this video. If you made it this far in the video, please place down in the comment section, just put I made it. I know I've mentioned that in the past as far as a comment, but just put I made it. It lets me know that you made it to this point in the video, and I truly do appreciate it. Until next time, guys, you stay blessed. Peace.